You know what's strange? A lot of people won't hate you because you did something wrong. They'll hate the way they feel around you. That's the part most people miss. Sometimes it's not your words, not your behavior, not your attitude. It's just that your presence quietly touches something unresolved in them. And if that person is insecure, that feeling doesn't turn into self-awareness. It turns into behavior, weird behavior, cold behavior, competitive behavior, passive-aggressive behavior. And if you're not careful, you'll spend a lot of time blaming yourself for reactions that were never really about you in the first place. That's what we're talking about in this video. Not in a dramatic, everyone is jealous of you kind of way, but in a more honest way, a more psychological way. Because Carl Jung understood something most people don't want to admit. People don't just react to reality. They react to what reality stirs up inside them. So when insecure people feel inferior to you, they usually don't say, "Being around you makes me confront my own insecurity." No, they do what most unhealed people do. They disguise it as criticism, as distance, as fake concern, as subtle disrespect, as competition, as indifference, as jokes. So if you've ever had someone act strangely around you after you started doing better, looking better, feeling stronger, setting boundaries, or just carrying yourself differently, this video is probably going to make a lot of things click, because insecure people follow patterns, and once you see those patterns, you stop taking their behavior so personally. Let's get straight into it. 1. They start competing with you, even when you weren't competing at all. This is one of the clearest signs. You're just existing, talking normally, sharing an idea, mentioning something good in your life. Maybe you're not even trying to impress anyone, and suddenly they need to top it. You say you've been working on yourself, and now they've apparently been doing 10 times more. You mention a goal, and they instantly make it about their goal. You share something you're proud of, and instead of just being happy for you, they subtly raise the stakes. They need to remind you that they're ahead, smarter, busier, more wanted, more accomplished. And the strange part is, half the time you didn't even realize you were in a contest. That's because this isn't real confidence. Confident people don't need to turn every interaction into a ranking system. Insecure people do. Because when they feel inferior, they can't just sit with that feeling. They need relief. And one quick way to get relief is to make sure they're still above you somehow, even if only in their own mind. Jung would probably say this has a lot to do with the fragile ego. When someone has built their worth on comparison, your progress feels like a personal threat, not because you attacked them, but because your existence disrupts the story they were telling themselves. Maybe they were comfortable seeing themselves as the more attractive one, the smarter one, the deeper one, the more disciplined one, the more successful one. And then you changed. Or maybe you didn't even change. Maybe you just stopped shrinking. And now they feel unstable, so they compete. Not because they hate you exactly, but because they can't handle the mirror your growth has become. And once you understand that, you stop getting pulled into it. You stop explaining. Stop proving. Stop racing people who are secretly running from themselves. 2. They minimize your wins like they're nothing special. This one is so common. You accomplish something, you improve, you glow up, you finally get a little peace, you build something, you do something hard, and instead of genuine support, they act like it's not a big deal. Oh, that's nice. Anyone could do that. You just got lucky. Let's see how long that lasts. Yeah, but there's always a but. There's always a little reduction, a little emotional downgrade, a little attempt to make your moment feel smaller than it is. Why? Because your win makes them feel their own lack. And insecure people don't always know how to celebrate what exposes them, so they downplay it. That way they don't have to fully feel what your progress is bringing up inside them, And sometimes it's even subtler than words. Sometimes it's the flat tone, the delayed response, the fake smile, the way they change the subject quickly, the way they give you less energy than they give random nonsense. That kind of response tells you a lot, because people reveal their heart in how they handle your light. A secure person can celebrate you without feeling reduced. An insecure person often feels smaller in your success, so they try to make your success look smaller too. And this is where a lot of people start gaslighting themselves. They think, maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe they're just not expressive. Maybe it's not that deep. Sometimes it really is that deep, not always malicious, sometimes just unconscious, but still real. Jung's whole idea of the shadow fits here, because what people can't accept in themselves, they often react to in others. Your discipline may irritate the part of them that keeps making excuses. Your confidence may irritate the part of them that feels powerless. Your peace may irritate the part of them that is addicted to chaos, so they minimize what they secretly feel challenged by. And if you don't understand this, you'll keep handing your joy to people who are emotionally incapable of honoring it. 3. They become passive-aggressive instead of honest. This is one of the most draining behaviors insecure people do, because instead of just admitting what they feel, they start leaking it sideways. Little comments, little digs, little jokes, little changes in tone. Nothing obvious enough to confront easily, but enough to make you feel that something is off. And that's the point. Passive aggression is what happens when someone wants to express resentment without taking responsibility for it. They don't want to say, I feel threatened by you. I feel less than you. I'm struggling with envy. I don't like how your growth makes me see myself. So instead they give you sarcasm, backhanded compliments, mocking humor, subtle shade disguised as just playing, tiny withdrawals of warmth. And if you react, suddenly you're the problem. Now you're too sensitive. Now you're reading into it. Now you can't take a joke. That's what makes passive-aggressive behavior so exhausting. It forces you to feel something they refuse to name. Jung talked a lot about unconscious material leaking out indirectly, and that's exactly what this is. Resentment without ownership, hostility without honesty, inferiority without confession. Insecure people often can't be direct because directness would require self-awareness. It would require them to actually look at what they're feeling. And many people would rather create tension than confront themselves. So if someone starts getting weirdly sarcastic, subtly disrespectful, or emotionally slippery after you start evolving, pay attention. Sometimes that's not random moodiness. Sometimes that's insecurity trying to protect itself. And honestly, once you see it, it becomes a little easier not to internalize it. Because you realize this person is not really communicating with me. They're acting out a conflict they're having with themselves. 4. They study you more than they support you. This one is darker. Some people won't openly clap for you, but they're definitely watching. They know what you're doing. They notice your moves. They keep tabs on your growth. They remember details. They may not engage much, but somehow they're always aware. You post something, they saw it. You disappear for a while, they noticed. You level up, they clock it immediately. But when it comes to direct support, silence, no warmth, no real encouragement, no sincere celebration, just observation. Why does this happen? Because insecure people often become fixated on those they feel inferior to. They don't always want connection. Sometimes they want data. They want to understand you, measure you, figure out your weaknesses, see if your confidence is real, catch you slipping, reduce the mystery. It's a strange mix of admiration, resentment, curiosity, and projection. And it creates this uncomfortable dynamic where someone seems weirdly attentive to your life without being genuinely happy for you in it. That's why some people feel watched, but not supported. And if you've experienced that, you know exactly what I mean. It's like their energy says, "I need to keep my eye on you," but never, "I genuinely want to see you win." Jung would probably connect this to projection and the unlived self. Sometimes people become obsessed with what they haven't developed in themselves. If you embody something they want but haven't earned, calm, self-respect, beauty, talent, discipline, emotional control, they may orbit you psychologically instead of learning from you honestly. That's why they study, but they don't soften. They observe. And once you recognize that, you stop mistaking attention for support. Those are not the same thing. 5. They try to humble you even when you're already humble. This is a big one. You're not bragging. You're not acting superior. You're not trying to dominate the room. But certain people still seem determined to bring you down a little. They correct you too quickly, challenge you unnecessarily, dismiss your ideas, point out flaws nobody asked for, act like they need to remind you that you're not all that. And the irony is, truly arrogant people often don't get this treatment as much as quietly grounded people do. Why? Because insecurity is often triggered more by calm self-possession than loud ego. A loud ego is obvious. People can roll their eyes at it. But someone who is quietly secure, someone who doesn't beg for approval, someone who knows their value without needing to announce it, that can make insecure people deeply uncomfortable. Because they can't control the frame. They can't read desperation in you. They can't access your weakness so easily. So they try to create one. They try to humble you. But it's usually not because you need humbling. It's because they need you to feel less solid. That way they can relax again. This is why some people are strangely bothered by your confidence, even when your confidence is soft, grounded, and respectful. Your self-belief exposes how much their own worth still depends on external validation. And instead of being inspired by that, they try to chip away at it. Not always consciously, but consistently. Jung would call this shadow behavior too, because a person who hasn't made peace with their own inadequacy often wants others to come down to a level that feels psychologically safer. So if somebody keeps poking at you, minimizing you, correcting you, or trying to check you when you haven't done anything arrogant, ask yourself, are they responding to who I am, or to how my presence makes them feel about themselves? That question clears up a lot. 6. They distance themselves when you start doing better. This one hurts because it's quiet. There's no big betrayal, no huge argument, no dramatic moment. They just slowly change. They stop being as warm, stop reaching out, stop showing genuine interest, stop feeling easy around you, and you can feel it. Something shifted. This often happens when your growth starts making them uncomfortable. Maybe you got healthier, more confident, more disciplined, more emotionally stable, more attractive, more selective, more successful. And instead of feeling closer to you, they start feeling farther away. Why? Because not everyone wants your evolution. Some people were attached to the version of you that made them feel safer. The more insecure version, the more available version. The version that was doubting itself. The version that needed them more. But once you start standing differently, they don't always know how to relate to you anymore. And instead of adapting with love, they create distance. This is one of the saddest things about insecure people. They often interpret your growth as abandonment, even if you never abandoned them, even if you're still kind, still open, still yourself. Your evolution forces them to confront the fact that they are staying the same, and that confrontation is painful. Jung would say that growth in one person can activate the unconscious stagnation in another. That's why healing, success, and self-respect don't always attract love. Sometimes they attract discomfort. Because your life becomes a question they don't want to answer. And if you've lost people as you've grown, I want to say this clearly. It doesn't always mean you became arrogant. It doesn't always mean you changed for the worse. Sometimes it simply means your growth stopped being emotionally convenient for them, and they preferred distance over self-examination. 7. They act indifferent, but their energy says otherwise. This is probably one of the most obvious once you learn to see it. They act like they don't care. They act bored, unimpressed, detached, but the energy doesn't match. Because if someone truly doesn't care, there's usually ease there, lightness, neutrality. But with insecure people, fake indifference has tension in it. It feels forced, a little too deliberate, a little too icy, a little too performative. They pretend not to notice you, but they notice everything. They pretend not to care what you're doing, but somehow they always know. They act unaffected, but they keep subtly responding to your presence. That's because indifference is often the mask insecure people wear when they don't want you to know you affect them. It protects the ego. If they admit your presence intimidates them, they feel weak. If they admit they compare themselves to you, they feel exposed. So they choose the safer image. I don't care. But emotionally, they do care. A lot. Jung's work reminds us that what we repress doesn't disappear. It comes back in distorted forms, and fake indifference is one of those distorted forms. It's hidden emotional charge wearing a cool face. So if someone's behavior feels overly detached in a way that actually feels tense, cold, or loaded, trust that feeling. You may be picking up on exactly what they're trying to hide, and this is why presence matters so much. Because people reveal themselves not only in what they say, but in the emotional tone they cannot fully conceal. So when insecure people feel inferior to you, they usually won't say it directly. They'll compete with you, minimize you, get passive-aggressive, study you without supporting you, try to humble you, distance themselves from your growth, or act indifferent while clearly being affected. And the reason this matters is not so you can walk around feeling superior. It's actually the opposite. It's so you stop personalizing behavior that was never really about you. Because once you understand this pattern, a lot of confusion disappears. You stop over-explaining. Stop chasing clarity from people who are in conflict with themselves. Stop shrinking just to make insecure people comfortable. Stop doubting your own light because someone else responded to it with discomfort. And maybe that's the deeper point here. Your presence will always reveal people. Not because you're trying to, but because people often show their unresolved parts most clearly when they feel small around someone. That was one of Jung's great insights. What is unconscious does not stay hidden. It leaks into tone, into behavior, into relationships, into envy, into withdrawal, into forced indifference. So the next time someone starts acting strangely as you grow, don't rush to think, what did I do wrong? Ask a calmer question. What is my presence bringing up in them? That question can save you a lot of self-doubt. And one more thing, don't use this understanding to become arrogant. Use it to become clear. Stay kind, stay grounded, stay humble. But don't make yourself smaller just to protect other people from meeting their own insecurity. That's not your job. Your job is to keep becoming who you are without apologizing for the discomfort that truth creates in the wrong people. If this spoke to you, then you already know. Sometimes people don't react to your flaws. They react to the parts of themselves they feel most around you. If you relate, type, I understand it now. Subscribe if you've ever felt this energy around insecure people.